A very good morning once again, and thank you for staying with us right here on Morning at NTV. My name is Romeo Busiku. Right now in our Take Note conversation, we're going to be talking about the plight of ethnic minorities. Yes. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has created many vulnerable groups outside those that previously existed or that we knew of. Well, the new groups, among others, include the urban laborers, to whom most of the focus has been directed, at least in food distribution. We've been seeing people in Kampala and Wakiso areas. Well, this has left many tongues wagging with questions on the situation of the historically known vulnerable groups such as the indigenous communities. For example, with the drop in tourism, how are the Batwa and the Ikes in this country faring due to the COVID-19 lockdown? You know, we talked about 1.6 billion being lost to tourism hitches. You also have 1.3 billion being lost when you come to the Cheyo remittances. But then we are focusing on tourism. How have the Batwa been affected? So in studio, I do have Sylvia Muwewa Nabatanzi. She's the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission, and she joins me right now. Very good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, who are these ethnic minorities, and two, who is speaking on their behalf?
First of all, as you've said, I'm Sylvia Muwewa Nabatanzi, and I'm the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission. Who is speaking for the ethnic minorities, and who are they?
Yeah.
I'm speaking for the ethnic minorities.
Amazing.
And that's why I'm here. Because the mandate of the Equal Opportunities Commission is to eliminate all types of discrimination and inequalities, but also to take affirmative action for those groups that are discriminated or marginalized. And these are marginalized or discriminated on the basis of their sex, age, color, ethnic origin, tribe, creed, etc. So you find that the reason why I'm here, it is to speak for those groups that are marginalized and discriminated. And the ethnic minorities are part of these groups. Who are the ethnic minorities? There are quite many. We have about, the officially listed are about 65. These include the Batwa, the Basongora, the Ik, the Tepeth, the Baruli, there are quite many. So these are the people who have lived within their cultural settings and they are not yet to live. The kind of development that is coming up now is what is trying to change their kind of mindset, but also their kind of living. They've had their own kind of living. They live in forests. They live by gathering fruits. They live by hunting. So that is their way of life. But given the developments that are coming up, tourism, industry, forest reservations, these are people that have been now sent away from their ancestral homes to occupy other places because of the developments that are coming up. So you find that they have quite many challenges. And that's why the Equal Opportunities Commission is concerned.
Indeed.
How are they living right now?
How are they living? Now, I'm sure you've been following the conversation, the Kickstarter conversation. I did have one of my guests, Morrison Rakakamba. He's actually the appropriate of Agency for Transformation and is suing NSSF and government. Now, besides that 20%, there is also entailed in his petition is something very, very crucial. He talks about the uneven distribution of food in the urban centers. He talks about people who might have been left out, the marginalized communities that are in rural areas. And that's where I'm going to engage you. How are these ethnic minorities? We would like to know, how are they accessing food? The pregnant women, how are they accessing antenatal services? It's a big one.
And that's why I explained in the beginning, what is our mandate as the Equal Opportunities Commission? That has been a very big question, that there has come a program, and this program is from government. Even if a program is from government, we cannot live devoid of the laws. What does the law provide? And that is the Supreme Law. The Constitution, it talks about non-discrimination. If you look at the Equal Opportunities Commission Act 2007, it talks of effectuating Article 32(3) of the Constitution. That is taking affirmative action, meaning whatever program that comes, everyone should be mindful that we are not equal. So what do we have to do? We have to give equal opportunities because we are not equal. So whoever is giving out food, whoever is talking about health, they have to put into consideration these other marginalized groups
in the far-flung areas,
and put in position those issues of affirmative action to see that even if we are distributing food, these groups are considered differently because they are already discriminated and they are already marginalized. And that's why we were concerned to say, as we see the task forces that are being developed in the districts and even the national task force, the Ministry of Gender should be part of that national task force, because they are the people who understand. It is their mandate. It's also part of the mandate of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to see that these groups are being catered for. It is the mandate of the Equal Opportunities Commission to see that these groups are being catered for. The Uganda Human Rights Commission, etc., etc. So we feel that whatever task force is being developed, we should have people who should speak for those minorities. Otherwise, we stand a risk of them being forgotten. That's why you're asking, in Kampala, there are ethnic minorities. But as we are lining up the distribution of food, where are they on that list? Are they number one? Are they number two? Are they anywhere? Or we are just distributing food to everyone? The idea of distributing food is very important and it is very good. But our emphasis is, please, as you distribute food, there are these other people who are marginalized before, who were discriminated before. They should take the front page. Yes.
Of course, are the ethnic minorities actually accessing information about COVID-19? I also did have the Kira Municipality MP, and he told me some of the people, the constituents in his area, did not know anything about COVID-19 or a lockdown. But then when you go to these far-flung areas, the situation can even be exacerbated by the fact that they are cut off from the country. So are they accessing information about COVID-19? And if they register a case of COVID-19, how are they able to protect themselves?
Last month, I think it was last month, yeah, I addressed at the media center and I raised some of the issues that were of concern to the Equal Opportunities Commission during this COVID-19 pandemic. And I mentioned rightly, and I said, as we are putting out adverts concerning COVID-19, not everyone understands English and not everyone understands Luganda, because those were the only adverts we were hearing about. But we requested government and all the other stakeholders to try and find ways of how information should reach everyone. That is by panel beating whatever information is there and they put it in our local languages. And that would also cater for some of these languages for the ethnic minorities. Otherwise, you talk of things, they speak different languages and they don't understand what is happening. And so I hope the Ministry of National Guidance and Communication, they are putting this into consideration to see that these other groups understand what is happening. And like you've rightly said, if you go out of Kampala and you go to these other areas, and usually these ethnic minorities are in far to reach areas. So you'll find that whatever is happening, they don't know. And yet it is important that all of us understand what is happening and we put away all the risks that might bring about death within the communities. So my plea was, whoever is developing information for the masses to understand, put into consideration these people, because no one will talk for them. The Equal Opportunities Commission went in 2017 to just research about the ethnic minorities, especially the Batwa, the Basongora, and how they live. And we discovered that their access to education is so difficult because the areas where they are usually pushed out of school because they don't understand them, they don't know them. And also the kind of language, of course, the official language is English. Those ethnic minorities do not understand whatsoever what's happening because they're discriminated and they're marginalized. But we also discovered that whatever programs that come up in as far as government is concerned, for example, the social protection kind of programs, the Youth Lively Program, the Women's Entrepreneurship Fund, Operation Wealth Creation. They've never had access. Why? They don't understand what is happening because the kind of language they are using or the kind of language they understand is not the way they give them information to understand.
So communication has been a barrier in that regard.
Exactly.
So how about those ethnic minorities living on the islands? How are they accessing social amenities in light of the COVID-19 lockdown vis-a-vis the rising water levels? I mean, we are talking about the islands, we're talking about rising water levels. And their homes being submerged in water and losing a lot. So how are they accessing social amenities in light of the lockdown and the rising water levels?
It's a very difficult situation. Last week we got some calls because we've been engaging with people in Luka, Namaingo, and those are some of the, we do have some ethnic minorities on those islands. And it has been so difficult for them to access these amenities. Why? The water levels are already high. But remember also movement has been restricted and yet they've not given some alternatives like water ambulances to help the pregnant women cross from one island to the other to give birth. And I think you've seen some pictures on some of the TVs showing some woman who died on the boat while being ferried to be taken. So our plea is the different stakeholders, government, we should come up with different solutions to some of these challenges to these people because their challenges have been on, they are not new, but during this pandemic, our worry is they're escalating. So they are being affected more than they have been affected before.
Of course, the president last evening while he was addressing the nation, he did mention that one of the prerequisites for actually entering the city and continuing with life as, you know, as normal, you'd need to have a mask, a face mask. So I'm looking at these places or these ethnic minorities in the far-flung areas. We are talking about affordability, number one, and the objective. Can they afford these masks? The government said they'll distribute free of charge, but then it can become costly when it comes to accessing these people to even give them the masks. And also the objective. If people do not know the purpose of the mask, because they are not accessing information on COVID-19. So will they adhere to this directive to wear masks?
They must adhere. That is number one. But we have to put measures. One, as we communicate, let's communicate in the language they understand. That has been our plea. They will understand that they need the masks. What we've been crying for, the president last night gave a solution. We've been crying for the underprivileged. We've been crying for the poor. That if I don't have money to buy a kilo of posho, how am I going to get 20,000, 15,000 to buy a mask? And the president last night announced that. He said they are free of charge. So I think this is a good step to the citizens to understand that, yes, the president understood, plus the task force and whoever advises, that people do not have money right now.
Yes, but Sylvia, that also happened, you remember, during the food distribution. The idea was like, many people cannot afford food, let's give them food. But then we noticed that some people were not given the food. So also the masks, if government is going to be distributing the masks, do you think that some people might be left out, like we've seen on the food distribution?
I don't know whether now you have interacted with the National Task Force. The way they started distributing food is not the way they are distributing food now, because they realize the bigger problem. Before they would say city dwellers who live hand to mouth. Today those are not the only people who are receiving food. Yes, it has changed. So sometimes, yes, we can start, but as we go along we can find other challenges, and the task force is there to sit and redesign or redefine how are we doing these things so that everyone at least gets something. So the way they are distributing food now has changed. It's not those people we thought they are giving food. They are giving food to everyone. So even the masks, they'll give the masks to everyone. And it's good. They said it is from the LC1 chairpersons. I think that's where we shall, that's where the distribution will start from. So I think that is a plus. And I think if even the food was taken up to that level, maybe by now everyone would have food.
People wouldn't be complaining.
I would imagine so, because yes, what people are not understanding maybe is that before this food is distributed, it has to be of standard. And it takes some time for the UNBS to give us that standard.
I
to
guess
say,
that's
okay.
what we are seeing also on the issue of the masks.
Exactly.
Authenticating that they are at par with the standards, then distribute them to the whole country.
No.
That's why they're giving us the 2 weeks.
The 2 weeks, I think, is for the production.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they'll give to about 35 million. If they're saying from 6 years, that will be around 35 million. So I think the 2 weeks is the
Indeed.
production.
Of course, we are going to get reactions from the public. I also have my reporter in Namongona, Stephen Mbide. But then your last pointers for our people who are watching the show right now. How has the lockdown extension exacerbated the suffering of the ethnic minorities?
Definitely, there are still challenges. And the reason why I'm here is to talk about those challenges. I think I also came up with an article for me to make people understand there are this other group of people maybe someone has not thought about, but it's high time we think about them. District task force, national task force, please think about the ethnic minorities. They've always had challenges. They are still having challenges, and right now they are escalating.
And will this extension make the situation even more worse?
Now, for the extension, I think we should take the extension in a positive manner because it's all about our life.
Indeed.
If you're not alive, you cannot talk about masks. You cannot talk about working. You cannot talk about driving. So let's first get our life first, and then the rest will come in. We need to be patient.
Sylvia Muweba Nabatanzi, she is the chairperson of the Equal Opportunities Commission, and we've been discussing the plight of the ethnic minorities. Well, right now I have my reporter Stephen Mbide, who is standing by in